Have you ever wondered who you are when no one is watching? Do you hear that very old, nameless call rising from the middle of the night? Sometimes it's in the heart of a song, sometimes in the center of a crowd, sometimes in the hush of your own breath, that you suddenly feel a meaning waiting for you. Carl Jung would say a person cannot live fully while ignoring this inner summons, because religion is not merely a system of beliefs, but a way for the soul to find its own center and direction. Have you ever felt such a call? Through a dream, a coincidence, a symbol, a prayer, a silence? Write a single scene in the comments. Perhaps your story will become a lantern for someone walking the same road. Imagine a morning. You're waiting for your coffee in a cafe, scrolling through your phone, lost among notifications. Then your eye catches a small sign at the edge of the table, perhaps a cross, perhaps a crescent, perhaps the loop of infinity. You can't quite name it, yet for a moment you notice something inside you quietly straighten. Deep in your being, it's as if a language you cannot remember is being spoken. Jung says such moments are not accidents. The collective unconscious speaks in symbols, rituals, dreams, and the sense of the sacred are the poetry of that language. Religion is the art of listening to that poetry, the way of approaching the unseen side of life with reverence. It is not just a dogma. It is the web in which meaning, a sense of purpose, and an inner orientation are woven thread by thread. When that web snaps, a person may look orderly from the outside yet lose the inner compass altogether. Picture a hospital corridor. Time grows heavy in spite of you, deep breaths in the waiting room, the ticking of the wall clock. Someone is praying there, another's eyes are distant, yet the rhythm of the words running inward sounds like a mantra. One gives names, one remains silent, yet both shoulder the same door. Jung says that behind this door is a center beyond the mask you think of as I. Persona is the face we wear under daylight, but the center knows the night and the dreams as well. Here religion steps in. It gives us a frame for looking gently behind the mask. It lights a lantern so we do not get lost in the shadow. It places our dialogue with the invisible into a safe container, a ritual. For the materials of the inner world are powerful. If they find no vessel to hold them, overflow may become destruction, and emptiness may turn into numbness. A chalice is needed. Jung sometimes called it the alchemical vessel, the carrier of transformation. Remember a dream. Perhaps that circular pattern you saw years ago, like a mandala. Perhaps you're crossing a bridge. Perhaps a child is guiding you. In dreams, the thing we name God often appears as a symbol. It represents states like center, wholeness, stillness, or infinitude. When Jung approaches God psychologically, he does not diminish the divine. Rather, he reads it as the sign of the soul striving toward wholeness. This does not belittle faith. On the contrary, it returns faith to the vitality of inner experience. For words sometimes separate us, while experience gathers us back together. What we call religion, beyond all names, is the reverence, wonder, and surrender alive within experience itself. Light a candle in a temple, whisper gratitude while gazing up at the sky, or murmur a quiet yes during a morning walk. The soul remembers its center in moments just this small. Modern people calculate the world often. Calendars, goals, performance charts. These are necessary and good tools, but when the tool takes over the driver, the stirring of the heart can no longer be heard. Jung reminds us that the human being is not only rational, but also needs spiritual nourishment. Religion is one of the names of that nourishment. Humming a tune that rises from within on a quiet Sunday morning at home, placing your hand over your heart and breathing deeply when anxiety arrives, eyes welling up as you kiss an elder's hand on a holy day, sensing the almost invisible bond that still exists when you look at someone you've lost. Each of these is an inner ritual. Their words differ, their roots are the same. That root whispers that the human being does not merely look at the world but also belongs to it. The shadow appears here as well. The shadow is the sum of the aspects you've rejected or ignored, and it is not only darkness, it is potential. The symbols and stories offered by religion create a safe meeting ground with the shadow. In a sacred narrative, there is a betrayer and one who forgives, one who is lost and one who finds the path, one who falls, of course, and one who rises. These stories do not exist merely to console. They exist to illuminate the stage within. One day you speak sharply at work and hear your conscience that evening. That voice may not be the inner judge archetype, but the sage calling you back to wholeness. Religion teaches you to let the sage speak. Ritual anchors that voice within daily life. For knowing alone is not enough. The body and the heart need a rhythm by which your exhale learns again how to say yes to the world. The notion of the collective unconscious tells us that a person is not alone. The traces of those who lived before us wash against the shores of our dreams. We are not surprised when we find a familiar face behind a mask. How can symbols we have never seen feel so known? The answer lies in the common library of the psyche. Religion is like a guide who walks us through that library. Sometimes it opens a tale, sometimes it sings a hymn, sometimes it simply falls silent. Silence is a language too. Jung says the experience we call the sacred bears a quality both shaking and tender, a moment in which time halts, being grows heavy, and tears ask for no explanation. No one tells you what to believe at such moments because you are already there. Religion is the shell woven around this existential contact, carrying the witness of centuries. Some think religion draws lines around us. Indeed, there are boundaries, yet a good boundary makes the playing field possible. A child runs safely and dares to fall and to rise again, thanks to those boundaries. The inner child is not merely a memory of the past. It is the name of the freshness and curiosity within you today. Religion opens a safe garden for the inner child. Lullabies, holidays, blessings for abundance, hands gathered around a table. All of these whisper that the world is not merely a stack of tasks piled one atop another. To say yes to a gift, you must notice it. To notice, you must slow down. To slow down, you must return to the rhythm of the soul. Listening to that rhythm existed long before religions. Religions place signposts lest we forget it. Those delicate bonds we call synchronicity appear in the day's flow. You think of someone and they call. A sentence you've long wanted to read appears before you today. While walking along undecided about some matter, your eye catches a single word on a street sign. A believer might call it a sign, another, a meaningful coincidence. Jung says, such moments create a stirring toward the center of the soul. For when you touch the center, the confusion outside yields, if only a little, to an order that rises from within. That order is not a mechanical system where everything is controlled. It is a felt trust in the flow. One of the most precious gifts religion can bring is this sense of trust. The knowledge that no matter what, you belong somewhere, that the unseen also keeps watch over you. That meaning is not merely the sum of your efforts. Alchemy appears often in Jung's writings because it is the language of transformation. To turn lead into gold is, in truth, to make the raw transparent, to gather the scattered into the center, to wrap the wounded with meaning. The fire of that transformation is sometimes called grief, sometimes loss, sometimes birth. The rituals of religion are like iron grates that control the flame, not burning when you draw too near, not letting it cool when you drift too far. Touching a headstone, bowing slightly to pass a threshold, blowing softly to extinguish a lamp, gazing into water and setting an intention, each is a gesture at a doorway. A door marks the boundary between the seen and the unseen. And to cross a door is, each time, to be born again. Of course, religion is not always an easy subject. Knowing people's wounds, Jung also sees how deep disappointments lived in the name of faith can be. Harsh experiences, the shadow of dogma, fears imposed in the name of love. These are parts of history and of personal lives as well. Yet Jung's counsel is not to throw the child out with the bathwater. Look at what is kept intact where something is broken. Look for which seed has been preserved in the ashes of what burned. Keep the inner question alive. What is sacred to me? Where does my breath widen? In which symbol do I feel more whole? Such questions are born not of dogma but of curiosity. They do not frighten. They invite. When religion becomes the language of reverence rather than fear, it serves healing. Read psychologically, Jung's phrase, "you cannot live without religion," means that a person cannot live without contact with meaning, with the center, with wholeness. The names of this contact change from culture to culture. The riverbeds differ, yet the water is the same. The soul seeks water. When it finds it, it will not fit back into the old vessel. Hence some kneel in a sanctuary, some lean their backs against a tree in a forest, some lay hands on wood in a workshop, and some as if prostrate themselves in a child's laughter. Religion is only one of the names of this bowing, but that name helps the heart remember its home. One day when you feel weary, place your hand upon your chest and slowly whisper a single word from within. Whatever its name, let that word carry you to the center. For the person who returns to their center arranges the outer world with more compassion. The one who repairs the temple within sees light in the faces of people in the street. And perhaps for this reason the psychological meaning of religion will remain a perennial necessity. For a person to look upon others and the world with greater love, they must first bow with reverence before the unseen. And sometimes this reverence shows itself in the most ordinary moments of life, waiting at the supermarket checkout in a child's firm grip on their mother's hand during that short elevator ride where no one speaks. A door opens inside you, yet the door has no name. Religion is the art of noticing that nameless door. In Jung's language, it is the path that makes visible the trail toward the center of the psyche. One evening after a long day of work, you return home and feel that something is missing. Your notes are complete, your emails answered, yet some inner hollowness hums. That emptiness is not a punitive darkness. More often it is a call, a whisper from the shadow saying, "See me too." The symbols and stories of religion are a gentle lamp held up to that whisper. The softer the lamp's light, the clearer the details in the shadow become. A human being always finds themselves within a story. Some hear it among the lines of a sacred text, some in the refrain of an old melody, some in a dream. The old wise figure who enters your dream warms you, even if they resemble no one you know. That wise one turns at times into a dervish, at times into a nun, at times into a teacher. The thing called an archetype is less about its outer face than the resonance it awakens in you. Jung sees archetypes as the universal patterns of the psyche's deep structure. Religions give those patterns words, color, and rhythm. Feeding someone who is hungry, watering a tree, sharing a grief. These are the translations of the inner sage into everyday life. Language changes, gesture changes, yet the coming into place that a person feels in that instant remains the same. A silent ascent, widening in the heart. Persona is the stage costume of this play, the jacket you wear while performing social roles. It is needed. Bare skin catches cold. But if the body beneath the jacket is forgotten, you become lost within the role. The healthy function of religion is not to command, take off the costume, but to remind you of the costume's purpose. Worker, parent, manager, student, whatever the role, ritual ties it back to the center. Pausing in silence for a moment of gratitude at the evening table, making a brief inventory within at the end of the day, not squandering that first second you look at the sky when the morning window opens. These small rituals remind you that the body beneath the jacket is still warm, that a heart is beating, that a soul is on its way. Anima and animus are the far shores of the soul. Within you there may be a silenced tenderness, an overlooked resolve, a shamed warmth, or a strength long since turned to stone. When religion's language builds a bridge between these shores, it finds its function. The compassion of a prayer text gives voice to your anima. The call to justice and rectitude in a sacred writing reminds your animus of its spine. Whenever, after speaking harshly to someone, a pang rises inside. I wish I had been gentler. The door of the anima has opened. Whenever you keep silent before an injustice and later scold yourself, I wish I had spoken there. The animus is calling. That religion grants both shores the right to speak, offers not a one-sided goodness but a balanced wholeness. For to leave mercy without backbone or backbone without mercy splits the soul in two over time. Negredo, the black phase of alchemy, is the dark kitchen of the inner world, the place where you think you are lost, where no path appears, heavy with the scent of loneliness. Ritual provides a movement there small, yet trustworthy enough to strike a match. Sometimes a candle, sometimes a word, sometimes only placing your hand over your heart. Then comes albedo, the white morning of clarity and cleansing. What you called sin, flaw, mistake ceases to be a crushing weight and turns into a bearer of meaning. Rubedo is the red ripeness, returning to the color of life, repairing relationships, learning to live love not merely as a feeling, but as a decision. This is why Jung loved alchemy. It translates the outer fire into inner transformation. Religion sets that transformation within a sense of community, a covenant, and a rhythm of time. A person feels that they are not alone. Sometimes the bond with religion breaks, a badly represented teaching, a loveless law, a coercion that wounds a child's heart. Here, Jung's approach is gentle yet persistent. First acknowledge the pain, then search out the part of the symbol that was not crushed. The essence of the symbol does not belong to an institution or a person, but to the soul's power to remember. To regain lost trust, you need an inner covenant, whether you call it religion or not. This covenant is a yes to a kinder relationship with yourself and with the world, perhaps a weekly silent walk, perhaps a 1-minute nightly self-reckoning, perhaps finally uttering the "I'm sorry" you've long postponed. The psychological counterpart of religion is the steady recentering of your life through such small but consistent steps. Synchronicity often appears at turning points. Your decision is ripening inside, and yet the outer world leaves graceful clues along your path. You may read these clues as a divine order, a cosmic joke, or the psyche's capacity to self-regulate. Whatever the name, the main task is to honor the sense of direction rising from within. A sentence on a page opened at random can suddenly speak the courage you've sought for years. The single glance of an elderly stranger on the street can soothe your need to be seen. In the dim hall of a museum, the hush falling from an icon painted centuries ago can help something in your heart fall into place. The symbols and arts of religion are valuable not only because they are beautiful, but because they make such moments of coming into place possible. Though community looks like the visible face of religion, its deepest function is nothing more than to turn the soul's loneliness into a good loneliness. Bad loneliness rots within. Good loneliness sprouts. If you never learn good loneliness even amid community, crowds will keep diminishing you. A good community guards a person's inward gaze calmly. It knows how to speak but also honors the pause. When tears slip from someone's eyes, it gives them room to express. When another bursts into joyous laughter, it does not deem that joy a sin but a salve. The process Jung called individuation is not an escape from society, but the deepening of the capacity to be yourself within it. When religion becomes a frame that carries this capacity rather than sanding it down, a person's chances of making peace with themselves and with the world grow. The collective unconscious is not merely a storehouse of the past, it is also a call from the future. There is a not yet of wholeness that dreams and myths whisper to us. Religions carry this possibility into today through the language of ceremony and symbol. The first loaf sliced at a child's birth, the opening dance of a marriage, the bread shared after a loss, each throws a small rope into the future. These are delicate ways of saying, here, today, together, we choose meaning. The soul bears the weight of that choice with love, for if there is no weight, there is no root. And without a root, when the wind shifts direction, you are blown away. Religion's function as root is not to bolt you to the ground, but to let you sway freely at last. In modern haste, it takes courage to make space for the slowness of ritual, but the thing that slows does not fall behind, it deepens. A minute of silence may speak more than 10 hours of noise. The center Jung points to is a place we approach not with clamor but with a broad, tender attention. That attention includes the body, noticing the weight on your shoulders, unclenching the jaw, listening for a moment to the rhythm of the heart. Religious approaches that do not exile the body, that include the body in the language of the sacred, are healing for this reason. The body is the oldest temple of the soul. The respect shown to it is the sibling of the reverence shown to the unseen.
Circling through all of this moves a fragile yet stubborn hope. Hope is not the tale, everything will be fine. It is the knowing, whatever happens, I can return to my center. The psychological power of religion comes from reminding a person of this path of return. A door always stands ajar, darkness seeps in suddenly, but so does light. The shadow grows, but so does the lamp. The inner sage falls silent, yet symbols speak. Perhaps today you begin with a single small gesture. Water the flower on the corner of your table. Pause for a minute before an old photograph. Brush the dust from a keepsake hanging on the wall. A small gesture heralds a great intention. The soul understands it, and the world, in time, answers. And without noticing, you pass through a second door already. In the first you learn to see, in the second to hear, perhaps in the third to touch. The path opens like this, whether you call it religion or not. Everyone walking toward their center shares the same patience, the same kindness, and the same deep breath. Further along the road, you reach a threshold you no longer want to cross back over. For once you have touched your center, the old rhythm no longer persuades as it used to. The hustle reveals itself as only hustle. Success reduces to numbers, and silence becomes a home once feared but now longed for. As Jung said, a person does not complete themselves merely by trying to conquer the world, but by courageously entering the inner chambers of their own soul. Religion is a guide that has traced the maps of those chambers for years, marked them with symbols and let them echo with prayers, and now you know, every symbol you see outside is a mirror of a truth inside. When you realize this, the psychological meaning of religion ceases to be a list of rules. It becomes a journey of transformation, a stage on which your soul writes its own legend. Sometimes that stage is very quiet. In your dark room, when you wake at midnight, you listen to your heart beating in the wall's shadow. That beat reminds you of the rhythm of your existence. Exactly there, the simplest function of religion shows itself, to bring you back to yourself. Whether in the song of a congregation or in the silence of a hermit, it is the same function. It is the whisper rising from the depths of the soul. You are not alone. For Jung, religion makes this whisper audible through symbols and rituals, because a person's greatest need is not only knowledge but contact, not only explanation but meaning. And meaning does not reveal itself in the lines of a system, but in the moments when the heart suddenly widens. So if one day you feel lost in meaninglessness, know that this is a sign given by your soul. Emptiness comes not to punish you, but to call you back to the center. Religion arranges the echo of that call. It draws the story told by your dreams, coincidences, and symbols into a whole.
You may find this in the silence of a mosque, in the hymn resounding in a church, or in the wing beats of birds in a forest. All point to the same place, your own center. There you will find the courage to make peace with the shadow, to remove the mask, to embrace your inner child again, and to transform your life with the powers your archetypes lend you. The language of religion is an old yet living song that reminds you of this courage. By now you know that Jung's statement, "You cannot live without religion," is not a command to cling blindly to a dogma, but the truth that your soul cannot live without contact with meaning. A life devoid of meaning is like a tree without roots. You may still have branches, but at the first hard gust of wind you will topple. A life lived with meaning can sing even in a storm. Its roots run deep. Religion is the metaphor of those roots. Roots that stand with patience against the wind's howl and with gratitude beneath the sun's light. And when the roots remember, the branches sway more freely. Your life becomes a prayer stretching toward the sky. Now, a small invitation to you who are watching. Before you sleep tonight, close your eyes and ask yourself quietly, what is sacred to me? There is no single right answer. Perhaps a name comes, perhaps a symbol, perhaps only a feeling. Do not hurry. Let your dreams show you the answer you hide while awake. Through the language of dreams, the whisper of the shadow, the old melodies of the collective unconscious. And when you wake in the morning, notice in which direction your heart has grown a little lighter. The signs are there, in the silence, in the coincidences, in the symbols. If this journey stirred a resonance in you, share your experiences in the comments. Perhaps your story will light the way for someone who is living this very moment. If you wish to explore more of Jung's transformative wisdom, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Thank you for sharing this moment. Until next time, remember, on the road to wholeness, you are not alone, because the sacred was always within you.